We have an imposter.
Illustrations by me.
So I don't know. Listen, I am not an expert on the Japanese watercolor Sumi ink industry. I have no idea what's going on over there. I don't know if they know what's going on over there, but here's what I know. There's a company that I just found called Sumikundo. There's another one, Sumikundo. I don't know any of these brands, but what I do know is that they are copying Kuretake with the size of their and shape of their pans, which is, I'm not complaining about that. I've mentioned that before. I enjoy that. They're big. Are they as big? Yes. Are they the same exact size? Yes. I will show you the sizes. They're the exact same size. However, for whatever reason, I looked up the company. Someone help me. Go look up the company. Give me whatever information you can find. I couldn't find anything anywhere about these paints other than that they're manufactured, but not where, who, when, why. Is it the same company? Is it Kuretake? Is it like a Chinese brand that copied them, that took their size, and because it's under, this is, listen, I understand. You could have a paint company that uses the exact same pigments and they get very similar colors. There's no infringement there. There's no kind of, hey, that's mine, you took it from me. There's nothing like that. But when you design your packaging around another company and you steal that and you steal their look and it's recognizable as that other company, that's pretty shady to me. However, for whatever reason, maybe they're friends. Maybe they love each other. Maybe it's an offshoot of Kuretake. I have no idea. But I know that these paints were very intriguing because of the color palette. There's 6 of them, just like the Kuretake sets, just like these. And they have these shadow colors that I really wanted to try. Now, Kuretake has a set just like this too. It's not called Shadow Set, but it's just like that. It's like the Sumi ink version of this, which these are considered Sumi inks. I'm going to get to that in a second. But I'm going to compare. I'm going to get them eventually. I will compare them to these and see how similar or different they are to use. But here's what I'm going to say. I know someone commented because I was using the other Kuretake paint, which say watercolor on them, and they told me I was using them wrong. They're not watercolor, they're Sumi inks. And they said, well, you have to use them like they're the ink, not you're using them wrong. I can't stand that kind of a statement because I'll use them however I want to use them. And if I get the result that I want to get with them, then that's all there is to it. So I'm going to use these Sumi inks like they're a watercolor medium. That's how I'm going to use them because that's how I want to use them. And I'm going to get the result that I want to get because I've used ink before. I've used the Dr. Peach Martin's Bombay India ink like watercolor and used them just fine, got the exact result I wanted to. I've used acrylic paint watered down like watercolor and gotten the results I wanted. You can use things how you want to use them just depending on the application. As long as you get the result you want, don't let anybody tell you you can't use something a certain way or there's only one way to use something. You use it however you want. You know, if you use it the wrong way, not the way it's intended, and you get a bad result, just don't blame the company. That's the only criteria. If these say, no, these are inks, and you're using them like watercolor, and I use them that way and they're bad and I can't get the effect I want, I can't blame the company because that's not how they're supposed to be used anyway. But if I do use them that way and I get the result I want, who cares? What's the difference? Why do people have these rules that they kind of, they just push on other people? They love that. They love to make up rules and tell you you're doing something wrong, and they're probably doing something wrong themselves. All right, so I'm going to swatch these out. There's only 6 of them. It's not going to be a very big swatch out. And then we're going to get into what these are and why I like them, why I picked this set. I fell for the propaganda on the website, and I'm going to show you that too. And I looked at it and said, oh, wow, that looks nice. That's a color palette I can sink my teeth into. This color palette is perfect for me. I've never seen a curated set like except for one. They call it shadow yellow. It's not yellow. It's green. It's almost like a green gold on here. I hate green gold, but I will use it to show you what it is. But it's not my favorite color. Oh, everybody, I know. It's a good mixing color. Everybody, every time I say I don't like a color, people are like, oh, that's a great mixing color. No, I'm not mixing that color. I don't like it. I don't want it. I'm throwing it in the trash, but I won't ever throw paint in the trash. I'm going to leave it with the set for now, but if I get a yellow Sumikundo ink that's actually yellow, maybe like a warm yellow. That's what they should have put in here. A nice slightly warm yellow. That's what would have went in this set. And that's what I would put in this set if I could. Alright, enough complaining. Let's get to the painting. Okay, so I've written the names up here. We're going to go in order that they are presented to us. I'm using a water brush. I know some of you are so disappointed. Don't worry about it. Alright, so we will start with the shadow pink, which I'm I'm almost certain that this is going to be a beautiful color that I like. According to the propaganda swatch, that's what it is. So, and, well, it doesn't look like the swatch, but this is a absolutely beautiful color. That's a wonderful color. It's a pale, pinkish. It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I like that color right off the bat. We're off to a good start here. I think that's a beautiful color. I don't know about you, but I understand these are inks and I'm using them like watercolor. Don't worry about it. We'll move on to the shadow yellow, which is not really a yellow. It's an ugly, disgusting, make me want to vomit yellow. It's not a yellow. It's a green. It's a green. So, yeah, look at that. No. Okay, well, does it make me want to vomit? Yes, but it's not. Do you see the colors that I'm being told I'm getting? Look at these colors. Let's put this up here so you can see the colors I'm supposed to be getting here. That's a very dark, shadowy green. And this is a bright green yellow. I do not like it. It's disgusting. I would never use that color. I guess if you absolutely were pressed and said, hey, can you just dilute this enough to almost make it yellow, but it's still green, you could get away with that. But I would never use this color, ever. Not in a million years. I wouldn't mix with it. I just wouldn't use it. Let's look at a real green now. This is going to be a shadow green. I have a sneaking suspicion they're trying to copy the Kuretake line. Almost identical for the colors, except there's no brown, there's a vermilion. But we'll get into that here in a second. So, beautiful green. Absolutely wonderful. Shadow green. Beautiful. I love it. They are just, that one hit it out of the park on that one. That's a beautiful color. Oh, well, that's spread everywhere. I got a lot of paint on that brush. Anyway, it's beautiful color. Wonderful. We're going to go to the shadow blue now. Let's see. My shadow blue has acne for some reason. I don't understand what that is, but it's okay. Don't worry about that. So here's the shadow blue. And it is a beautiful color. Absolutely stunning. Okay, there it goes. So yeah, that shadow blue is absolutely beautiful. That's a wonderful color. So far we have 3 out of the 4 are beautiful colors that I would definitely use. Let's see where we stand on this purple here, this shadow purple. Where are we going to stand? Nice and dark. And it's getting lighter. Very nice shade. Very, very nice shade. Yes, it's you could you're hard pressed, but you can pass that off as a Perylene violet or something like that. You can do that. You can pass it. It'll pass for that. I'll pass it for that. Oh, that's a lot of. Oh boy. Okay, let me try and redo that. There was just too much of the color in the brush there, and then we'll put a little dab. Okay, so far this is the kicker here. So I don't like the split primary thing, but I do. So I don't like the cool red and then the warm red. But this, from what I understand, from what this color is showing me, and from the painting that I'll show you that was in the propaganda right on the website. This is not going to be a warm red. This is going to be an orange. And that's what I love. And it is an, oh, that's a brilliant orange. That's a beautiful orange. Look at that. Absolutely wonderful. That orange is something I will use. Now, I don't know what it is with me. I have some quirkiness about me when it comes to colors. And I really, really do not. So here's the progression. I like the warmer yellows where they could almost pass for a very light orange. Okay, I like that. That's something I enjoy. Once you get to the actual orange, I don't like the pale yellow oranges. I don't know why. I like the orangey yellows, but not the yellow oranges. I like the solid oranges, and I like the dark oranges, and I like the red oranges. But I do not like the orange reds. So when you have a red that's leaning to the orange side, I do not like that. But if you have an orange that leans a little bit more to the red, I love that color. It's weird with me. I don't know what that is. There's definitely something broken with me. Don't worry about that. So this does not look like that color at all. Not even a little bit. That is beautiful. That is a gorgeous color. I love that color. Some of them are okay. This kind of is in that vein. That's kind of in that vein. That's kind of in that vein. That, I don't think so. This is an ugly, ugly green that kind of just stays ugly. I don't like that color. Anyway, the pink is beautiful. It's a beautiful color. I really do like this palette except for that one color. I'm going to try and use it, but I'm going to have to mix it with something. I really will, because otherwise it's absolutely useless to me. So let's see here. Are they trying to copy anything, do you think? You think maybe a little bit? So they have their... These colors are very different. All of these colors are very different. Maybe the blue is similar. Now, the green is the most similar, I would say. Yeah, the green is the most similar. But all in all, I think they're trying to copy them. I really do. I think they're trying to rip off Kuretake. And not to say that you can't have a similar formulation or anything like that, but when you make your paints look like Kuretake, if anybody saw these without the labels and they just saw the pan sitting out, they'd say, hey, that's Kuretake paints. No, it's not. Sorry, it's definitely not. I know these are inks. I'm going to do a painting with them as if they're not inks. Don't worry about what I do with them. But I do have to give them credit. They come with the cover. Look, that's something they did better than Kuretake, because I have the graphite colors here, and this is it. This is the whole thing. There's no cover to them. They just sit there and they're going to collect dust and get disgusting. I'm even looking, oh, maybe there's something underneath. No. So what you have to do when you get the Kuretake is you have to save the packaging and slide them back in here so that they're not exposed to the dust and dirt. This has a cover, which is very nice and convenient, and I enjoy that. I'm very happy they included that. I applaud them for that, but nothing else. No, the colors are beautiful, except for that one. But the colors are nice, and I'm not going to complain about that. They're just... I just don't like that they're copying the packaging. But other than that, they look like they're a nice set. Alright, let's get into the painting. Okay, so right away, I have to say, these came out very different. They were very different to work with. Extremely different. I would say, once again, this Sumikundo, whatever they are, however you say their name, that paint right there, that ink painted on very thick. I had to dull it out very much. The other paint, the Inktense came out much lighter. I had to add more layers to darken it up, and it was also very opaque compared to the other ink. The Sumikundo ink, that was very transparent. When you put it on the page, you saw that it was transparent. When you put down the Inktense, it appeared very harsh, kind of not harsh. I don't want to say that. It was kind of just very opaque. You know what I'm saying? You'll see when I get to that part. But it'll be on the right side page there. But it was just very opaque, and I had to kind of thin it out to kind of get around it. Now, both of them layered well. I could layer both of them very well. But the Sumikundo ink, I was able to layer and then thin out after I layered it. so I could spread it a little bit thinner, and it blended a little bit nicer than the Derwent Inktense. Now but again, the thing that I have to say is that the Inktense has the advantage because they have an entire line of Inktense pencils that match those colors exactly. So if you put down that color, I didn't use them here. I didn't use the pencils here. I wanted it to be a fair fight. I wanted it to be fair, a fair comparison. And so I didn't add the pencils into it. If I would have added the pencils into it, it would have been different. It would have been a little bit easier to layer and get subtle shading and so that kind of stuff, and it probably wouldn't have been as opaque. I would have been able to put it down a lot thinner and then just kind of darken it with the pencil. And even if I activated the pencil and made it a little bit, watered it out a little bit and turned it into paint, it would still be a lot lighter than how thick I had to put it on to get the same intenseness that the other brand had. So anyway, all I'm saying is I think it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. It was a wonderful experience. I would recommend using either of these. I still love the Inktense. I'm a Derwent fanboy, right? That's what I say all the time. But I am also now a Sumikundo, even though I've never even heard of them before, and I've never seen them. I have no idea who they are, where they are. They could be manufactured down the street in someone's basement for all I know. But all I'm saying is I'm a fan of this. This ink worked wonderfully. They only have those couple colors in the inks, so that's all I can judge it on. They don't have such a huge selection, but that color palette, like I said, perfect for me, with the exception that I would have liked to see a slightly different green. Instead of two greens, give me a green and a real yellow. That's what I would have liked to see. Or just a warmer yellow is fine with me, like a like a deep, like a yellow deep or something like that. But all in all, I enjoyed using, and when I did use that green, I'm calling it a green, they call it yellow. When I used that green, it did almost came out on the page like a sap greenish-ish color, like a yellowish sap green color. So I actually enjoyed it. It didn't bother me when I used it here. You'll see when I put it down on the page, it was not bad. I did enjoy it. Something I do want to bring up though while I was doing this, so I was basically doing this based on composition, and I didn't do a lot of the Inktense on the right side of the page. There's a lot less that I use there versus on the right side. Yeah, on the left side of the page where I use the Sumikundo, I made it a lot bigger of a section because I've used the Inktense 100 times before, and so I know how that works and how it acts. So I just wanted to give myself some time with the other one a little bit more. So I made a much bigger section of that one. It's not to trick you or fool you or say that one's better than the other because whatever. I just needed more time with it. So I did that, and then I put multiple layers on and tried to tune it a little bit, give it some texture and things. And it worked wonderfully. I absolutely loved it. I enjoy both of these mediums. I'll grab for both of these mediums. I will say that the Inktense shows the texture of the page more. I don't know if you can see that at all in this painting. But as I go through it now and I'm looking at it, I see through all the colors, I see the texture of the page more through the Inktense. Even though it's more opaque, I still see the texture through it more. It just brings out the texture of the paper more. But on the other side, it looks much more smooth overall. So I don't know if that's a characteristic of that particular ink or if it's not. I call it paint because that's how they tell you to use it. You don't put this in a pen. It's in a pan. You know what that means? It means to me that it's paint. It may not be reactivatable paint, but it's paint. Anyway, what I'm going to do next, probably in one of my next drawings at least, is I'm going to compare the ink to the graphite paint and see how those two mix together and see how those look when they're next to each other. But that's for another day, and I'll talk about that when I do that. But for now, this is what I want to do. So truth be told, what I did, I know I might have mentioned it in the other video. I don't know if I did or not. But anyway, I grabbed this ink paint and put that on the left page, and then I grabbed Kuretake Graphite and I put that on the right page, and I was like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. So I did mess that up already. I've already done that painting, so this was a separate one that I wanted to do, and I've done this here. Anyway, you have to deal with my flaws. It's just how it is here. I can't do anything about that. Sometimes I do dumb things, and so that's what happens. Anyway, the thing that I did want to say, someone brought this up. I've been criticized quite a bit lately. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I really like to hear from people, and it doesn't bother me at all. Don't think that anybody's doing anything to offend me or to get me down or anything like that. No one ever is. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But anyway, one person said that it takes me forever to get to the point. I ramble on, and I never get to I finally get to the point, and they put a little snoozing emoji with they were falling asleep. That's okay. Some of you come here to hear me ramble. You tell me all the time. You say, I just come here to hear you ramble. That's wonderful. I love that too. So it does. But you have to understand, I'm trying to fill a video with stuff. If I just shut my mouth and I don't say anything, then I don't have a video. So I could do like everybody else and just play soft music when I do my little painting. I don't want to do that. I want to talk to you. That's the whole point of this whole channel. We have to create a community. You can't do that when everyone's silent. So I'm talking. That's how it is. The other person said, it's hard to watch my channel because I'm yelling into the microphone. I am yelling into the microphone. I'm trying to keep your attention and keep you awake. Sometimes I can't do that. Sometimes you listen to me to fall asleep. That's fine. No problem with that. But I yell into the mic all the time, and that's just how it is. I have to keep myself up. You have to remember, right now, it's, well, when I'm doing this part here, it's about 12:30 and midnight. Yeah, 12:30. So at night. So I'm going to be awake at least for another 2 or 3 hours, editing and doing more of this and recording the rest of the voiceover and figuring out what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, and just kind of cut out all the other nonsense. You have no idea how much nonsense I cut out. I cut out a ton of stuff where I ramble on about nonsense that I really shouldn't be talking about on a painting video, and I just go off about a bunch of stuff. So I actually cut that stuff out. You think this is bad? You got to hear me I will not put that in a video, but when sometimes I just run with it. Now let me tell you, I would get myself into a lot of trouble. They demonetize my channel, and it's just not worth it for me. So I cut a bunch of that stuff out, but I'm probably going to record a voiceover for about an hour and cut it back to like 10 minutes because I can't say that stuff here. Do you remember when you were a kid, there was that show, well, when I was a kid. Do you remember when I was a kid? Because I do. There was a show, You Can't Do That on television. It was a funny show. Anyway, that's what I feel like when I do this sometimes. I get rambling into something. I'm like, holy crap, I can't say that. I get to the end of the whole conversation, and I say, oh, I can't talk about that right now. That's not appropriate for this channel. So I have to completely change everything I'm talking about and cut that stuff out. Not to mention, I forget what I'm even saying half the time. I forget the point that I was just making. So I start talking about something and it leads me down a rabbit hole and I never get to what I was saying. Just like that person said, they're right. They're not wrong. They're right. That's what I do. I just ramble on and on. I never get to the point. That's how it is. And that's what I'm going to continue to do because this is who I am. You can take it or leave it, but if you leave it, you got to switch off the channel. That's how it is. And plenty of you do. And that's fine too. And most of you stick around. I'm very grateful for the audience that I have here in the community here because you guys are wonderful and very gracious to me. For 99.9% of you are anyway. And that's okay for the ones that aren't. I don't mind so long as you watch the channel. Matter of fact, tell me how much more you don't like me so that you can trigger the algorithm that this is a good video to interact with. And then by you telling me how terrible I am, you're actually telling YouTube to push it out to more people. So keep doing that. That's wonderful. I don't mind that at all. Now, one thing I did really enjoy, I'm going to get back to this now. So one thing I really did enjoy about these ink paints is that you can layer over them very, I guess to the whatever extent you want. You can make it very intense and they get very dark because they're dark colors. so they can get very dark, or you can just add a lot of water and just add a little bit more on top. And I did that quite a bit. You'll see me, I'll put like a solid line down, and then I'll just wipe off the brush for a second, and then I'll put that back on and water it out a little bit, and it just thins it out, so it just adds a little bit more color in certain spots, and then other spots I leave heavier. And I like that. I like how much I can tune it. You can do one of these, and I can do one of these, without using any ink, any kind of ink outline. And I may do that in the future. I may do that. But, of course, I like to put in ink. I like the sharp contrast. However, I also did like how nice they kind of blend together, and how you can create the contrast just with the ink. Because sometimes it's difficult if you use brighter colors or lighter colors to do that and create that kind of a contrast, and sometimes that ink is necessary. But with this, I would feel completely comfortable not adding the ink and just adding a little bit extra paint or something like that, a little bit extra ink on that paint ink is what I'm talking about. So add a little bit more paint on it and just make it darker that way, create some shadows and darkness that way. It's one of the few things that I've ever tried that I can do that with comfortably without feeling that need to add the ink. So that's something that's wonderful. I enjoy that. And I keep doing a lot of these types of paintings. I don't know how you feel about them, but I'm in that stage right now where these are the type of paintings that I enjoy doing. I enjoy adding the ink exactly where I add it. I enjoy adding the detail exactly where I add it, and sometimes I'm adding a little bit, sometimes I'm adding a lot. Just depends, but I've enjoyed doing these and creating these. And I think I'm looking back through my book here for a little bit, and other than the sketchy, the sketchy where I put in all the details, and I put in a lot of lines in it, and I do use that sketchy brush pen, and I put in a thick ink and all that stuff. Other than that, this is the next, I guess not my second favorite. It's just another one that I love to do. I don't really have a favorite, so I like to do this one as well. The way that they came out with the graphitint pans and the other graphite paint, I love how that came out. That is one of my favorite pages in this book, and I absolutely love that came through like that. And this one was fun. I really enjoyed it. I may do some little things around it. I may add to it later down the line if I want to just pull this book out and just put a little bit of extra details around the edges and do a little extra weird things around the sides. But really, I like this. Now, someone did ask me, hey, why don't you put a background in some of these? And there's a big reason why I don't do the background. This is a free Q&A right here. I was going to put this in another Q&A video, but I decided to put it here. And I'll probably put it in that one too, because I'll forget. But anyway, the reason that I don't do the backgrounds a lot of times is because when I first got back into art, I started doing, I was doing animal portraits, and I did a lot of animal portraits. And then I started, but I always added a background, and it looked weird to me. It looked weird because even though it was lighter and faded and it was not in focus, it looked strange. It didn't highlight the actual thing that I was doing. So I started going from doing a background to just doing a solid color. And I would do the animal portrait with a solid color behind it. But still, it didn't look right. So I tried doing like a mottled kind of color where you just have some dark spots and light spots and that kind of stuff. Still, same thing. It's the same thing. I felt like it was taking away from the piece because there was not enough contrast there. Even if I used, like for example, if it was a blue jay and I put orange behind it, even though it was that contrasting, it wasn't as contrasty for me as I wanted it. So I started leaving it completely blank. And if sometimes I'd want a color and I'd put it on colored paper. And that's how I'd do that. But other times I'd want it just on white paper and I put all the color into the animal portrait and did it like that. Matter of fact, I had a couple that one was like a frog sitting on something sideways and stuff. And I just didn't even paint the thing that it was on. It looks weird. It looks like it's coming out of the side of the page. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I just started doing that. Then when I got to ink drawing, I started putting in backgrounds like lines and things like that. And I liked that, but again, it does take away from the actual drawing itself. So now what I do, if I'm going to put anything in the background, I usually put like a neurographic black lines in there or something like that. Something that's very contrasty, but also that is contrasting. Is it contrasty? Can I use that word? Can I make that a word? It's contrasty. I say that all the time. I don't even know if that's a word. It could not be a word. I've got to look. Is contrasty a word? Hold on. Let me look this up here for a second. It's a word. Oh, my phone's going off. Anyway, it's a word. Contrasty. It's a word. It's when you talk about like a photograph or a picture. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So contrasty is a word. I was using it right. So ha. Anyway, I make it contrasty on the outside, and I put like big black blobs, or I put like the neurographic with the thick black lines, and I do that on the outside and keep the color in the main area, in the main thing. But I am going to plan on doing a video where I do an ink drawing on top of a color. There's a solid, or not solid color, but a single color that has some different spots on it, like darker spots, lighter spots, like a mottled kind of thing, and then do an ink drawing on top of that, and then go back on top and add the contrast around the actual drawing and make it a lighter color. And you'll see, it'll be interesting. It makes it pop a little bit. We're going to talk about that when we get there, but for right now, just know that I enjoy doing this type of thing, and I'm probably going to keep doing this a little while until I get sick of it, and I'll go do one of the other styles that I do. But I enjoy it. So I hope you enjoy it too. If you don't enjoy it, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing the video. So I hope you enjoy it as well. And if you don't, you can take it up with these people popping up on the screen. They're look, they're all over the world, so they will find you. I just got demonetized. Don't worry about that. Anyway, thumb up the video if you are going to try these ink paints and see. It doesn't have to be these two brands. You can try any other brand. I happened to grab these because I saw this one set that I absolutely loved, and I had to compare it to the Derwent Inktense that I'm so familiar with and I've used for so long. So, but find something. Let me know if you use a different one. If you know of a different one, please tell me. I know that Kuretake has an ink also, the ink pans, and they have like the darker ones. It's like the shadow colors or whatever. They call it the Sumi ink set, I think, and they're like darker shadow colors. I'm going to get that set and compare it to these two. That's something I want to do. So I will do that. But let me know if you have any other brands that you use that's paintable ink, and let me know, because I really enjoy creating with it. It's something that I don't do a lot of lifting, so it doesn't matter for me when I go into watercolor. Whether it's ink or whether it's watercolor, it doesn't matter to me. I don't do a lot. Sometimes I like to do the watercolor because I like to mix a color on top of another color and kind of blend it in a little bit and kind of change it. So in that way, I like the watercolor better. But when I do stuff like this, a lot of times it doesn't matter. I'm just using one or two colors anyway, and it works just fine. So let me know what you use. All right. If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.